Okay, I'm live on YouTube and Facebook, so I'm just waiting for people to turn up. Okay. Hello, we're just waiting for everyone to turn up. I like to wait till I get usually about 50 people before we get going. Depends. Facebook's been, sometimes they haven't been pushing my lives out and not announcing it, so people have just found it organically. So I never understand social media. Okay, so let me see here. By the way, while we're waiting for people to turn up, I'd love to know where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. And so where are you from? What part of the world? I get people from all over the world. A lot of my clients are overseas, and yeah, no, it's fascinating. It's interesting when I'm coaching clients from different cultures because they have a lot of different beliefs and, cultural sort of habits. And so it's interesting. St. Louis, Missouri, welcome. Australia, Shell, right? Okay. That's where my kids were born and raised in Australia. It was funny one time I told someone, I said, oh, my kids were born and raised in Australia, and then I'm here in Canada now. And they said, oh, so did you adopt them? Or no, I was there too. Reedsville, Wisconsin. Is that Wisconsin? Reedsville. Never heard of Reedsville before. Is that Wisconsin? WI? I can't think of what else it would be. Louisiana, living in Corinth. I've seen that before. I just don't know how to say it. Corinth, Texas. Yes, Missouri. Okay. I guess it could have been Minnesota, but I think Minnesota is MN. I'm not sure. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Welcome. Okay, so let's get going. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go to the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, or you can look into coaching. Oh, I forgot about the boot camp course. The boot camp course is 3 to 12 years old, and it's all about your leadership. San Diego, California, Wisconsin, Central Coast, California. I don't know what that means. I don't know what Central Coast means. Okay, how do you stop a 3-year-old from running away from you? Okay, there's 4 different things that kids are either born to do or they're never going to do them. One is running, one is climbing. They often go together because they're the fearless kids. They're not looking for you. They're not worried about hurting themselves or getting killed by a bus, right? So, and then also tantrums and hitting. Anyway, with runners, I would say, look, I don't want, because they're 3 years old, I would say, I don't want you running away from me anymore. So you put a harness on them. Then when you go out and they start to take, you'd be watching them. As soon as they start to take off on you, clip them in and keep them clipped in for the rest of that outing and say, you can't run away from me. It's dangerous. So you're going to have to be clipped in. So if you're self-conscious about a leash, don't be. Like, no one. If anyone's judging you for that stuff, then what are they going to do? Let their kid get hit by a bus? Don't worry about that stuff. There used to be, it was interesting. I've been doing this for 17 years. I've seen a lot of things come and go over those years. And one of them is people used to have a fit whenever I'd say, put your kid on a leash. Now no one seems to care. It's interesting. So that, never put their kid on a leash. Well, yeah, rather than be a pancake after being hit by a bus. I just don't get that. Okay, what is the strategy for defiant 4-year-olds? Likes to spit. Just put down no spitting on the behavior board. The behavior board is completely free. It's in my description. This is on YouTube here. It's in the description there. And you put down no spitting. And if they do, then there's a consequence. We all learn through consequences. We don't learn through being lectured to or explained everything, because, we understand we shouldn't speed. Do we still do it? Yeah, because we think we might not get caught. But what if we knew we were going to get caught every single time we sped? Would we ever speed? Of course not. So every time they're going to spit, there's going to be a consequence. So check that out. It's on the behavior board. Well, not spitting, but check out the behavior board and put no spitting as the kids' rule. Okay, New Hampshire. Welcome. Albany. Oh, is that Oregon? Albany, Oregon. Vermont. I have no idea where Vermont is. I always think Buffalo, New York. Am I wrong? I don't know. Toronto. I know where Toronto is. LA. Utah. Hi, Susie. New Zealand. We used to ski in Queenstown because we lived in Australia. Gorgeous down there. Beautiful. Wisconsin too. Menasha. Wouldn't be Menasha. It would be Menasha, right? I don't know. Okay, so I'm just waiting for your parenting questions. So Susan said, I said to put no spitting on the behavior board, and she says, great, she's got the scrub the table. There's a heart in the way, so I can't see. Yeah, there's a heart right where I can't read what you said. I'm assuming it's table. Great, she got the scrub the table consequence. Yeah. Okay. Montreal, never been there. Whenever I travel, I tend to go other countries, not Canada. 18-month pinching and biting everyone. Any advice? Yeah, just use consistent corrective actions. Every time they do that, you say no, and you remove them from whoever they pinched or bit, or just push them away a little bit. So it's a consistent thing, though. You've got to be 100% consistent when you're picking a battle that you want to win. And teaching them how to not bite is a battle, okay? They're not going to learn the 10th time or the 20th, probably more like the 50th time. It's just the way it is. They're only 18 months old, okay? How to limit the screen time with 13, 14-year-olds. They refuse to give away the devices and hack neighbors' Wi-Fi when I turn. How do they hack into that? I don't know how they would do that. I would talk to the neighbors about that. Anyway, yeah, if they're doing that, though, it's not so much that you want to stop. You want to disable them from doing the bad stuff. You want them to just not do it anyway. So, yeah, you might want to look into coaching. That would be, I'd have to work with you on that because I need context. What kind of parent? I can't give you advice with teenagers until I know your relationship with them. Because whenever people hire me to work with teenagers or to work with them with their teenagers, I don't talk to teenagers anymore. Anyway, so we work on your relationship first, and then we start to deal with the behaviors that they're doing. Yeah. Twin-year-old girls that actually turned 4 today. Happy birthday. One has gotten into saying no to everything I ask or I don't want to. This just started out of nowhere. Any tips? That's okay. They don't have, I never tell kids what to do, but if they make a poor choice, then there's a consequence. So you might want to check out the behavior board with that. That's an attitude and it's a bit of a tell. It means that they don't respect you. So you got to work on your leadership. It's not, you can't fix them. You got to teach yourself. I don't fix kids. I teach parents here. So you set yourself up as a leader and it shows you how to deal with all this stuff. So yeah. Doesn't matter if she doesn't want to. If it's not done, there's a consequence. If it's something that she has to do, I don't want to. Well, it's fine. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do, but there'll be a consequence. Okay. They learn. Yeah, that's a tell. It means they don't respect you. If she's back talking you like that, she doesn't respect you. So you got to earn that. You got to work for that. Okay. I teach leadership here. Okay. Sorry, I'm going to scroll ahead to make sure people are still here while I answer their questions because people come and go. My 5-year-old swears a lot. Can I get him to stop before he starts school? Just put down no swearing on the behavior board. The behavior board is completely free. So check it out. It's in the link above. And just put down no swearing or no bad words, whatever you want to use. And then every time he does, there's a consequence. Okay. And that goes for school too. If I find out you've been swearing at school, the consequence will be waiting for you when you get home. So, yeah. Dang, I thought you may say that. What did I say? No. I'm going to go back and look. Oh, yeah. Well, of course you knew I was going to say that because you already knew the answer to that, didn't you? What's a good consequence? Check out the behavior board. Don't focus on the consequence. It really doesn't matter what it is. It just has to be something that they don't like. It's usually doing a chore. Well, they love doing chores. There's always something they don't like doing. Usually like cleaning out windowsills. Most kids don't like doing that. Most kids don't like cleaning toothpaste out of the sink. Yeah. But don't get focused on that. The consequence is not the key here. The focus here, it's all about your consistency. Okay. Everyone's so, if I get the right consequence, everything will be golden. No, it's not the way it works. It should be something that they don't like, But even if it isn't, don't worry about it. So if they do something bad, then they're doing a good deed to make up for it. Okay. Is it better to let 4 and 5-year-olds work out problems between themselves while outside playing in a group? Like hitting? No, I deal with hitting for sure. Yeah, you don't want to let them do that. So I would go out there and I'd say no hitting other people. They're 4 and 5 years old. So I would say no hurting other people. And every time they do, then there's a consequence. How can I stop a 6-year-old from running away? In the yard, it's like a game of chase to come inside. That's a tell, means they don't respect you. Plus, I don't know if I could catch a 6-year-old. I'm pretty sure I couldn't. So I wouldn't get into a game of chase. I'd just say you can run as much as you want. But yeah, there'll be a consequence for that. So check out the behavior board and say, quit running away when I'm trying to get you inside or whatever it is. So there'll be a consequence if they run. It's just another tell. It means they don't respect you. You gotta earn their respect before you can discipline. Disciplining younger children, you can earn their respect by disciplining. But if you look at the behavior board, you're on there too. That's what makes it work. Okay. But with teenagers, you got to get the relationship going before you even start to think about disciplining or anything. They won't follow the consequence. They will continue to run. Well, the consequence happens after they're inside. So you're not going to deal with it in the moment. It's like when they finally get inside, they're not going to be running for the rest of their lives. They're going to eventually come inside. Then there'll be a consequence. So yeah. Plus, I think that people want me to have some magic words that you can say or magic action that's going to fix everything, right? You got to work on your leadership skills. You got to earn this respect. Everyone wants that. What are the magic words so that I have respect today? It doesn't work that way. You know, I teach in 5-week sort of blocks. The boot camp course is in 5 weeks. Coaching is in 5 weeks. It doesn't end there. You got to keep working. I teach you what to do in those 5 weeks, but you got to keep working at it because they're going to remember the old you when you weren't a leader. So you've got to work for this respect. You got to earn it. But everyone thinks that there's just something, well, come on, Lisa, tell me what to say. Yeah, I'm teaching you how to be a leader. But yeah, there is no magic word or magic action that you can do to all of a sudden everything's great. I think people, it's like dieting. It's not like, okay, give me a magic pill. Well, maybe it is like dieting, but it's not going to happen overnight, right? It takes time. What are some of the main leadership skills you recommend? I'll read out my top 3 leadership qualities for pretty much all ages. So these are my top 3 leadership qualities as like parent leaders. Number 1 is you be calm during the storms. When you're disciplining and they're all upset, you stay completely calm. All that stuff, it's like a business transaction to you. There are no emotions involved. When they're upset, when they're angry, and when you're disciplining, it's just a business transaction. No emotions from you. Plenty from them, but that's not your problem. That's theirs. Okay, number 2 is you be crazy during the rainbows. When everything's great, you can be crazy and goofy and best friends with them and play with them. So you be calm during the storms, crazy during the rainbows. And the last one, this is more like when they're 3, 5, 6 years old. You be a great listener. You learn how to listen to show empathy and understanding. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. You want to raise problem solvers who have pride in themselves. You want to encourage them to come up with their own problems. Also, don't judge them, especially with teenagers. When they start unloading on you and telling you stuff, don't judge them. Don't tell them what to do. Just listen. Okay. Listening skills is huge. Parents, teenagers are my favorite age. They're actually really easy to deal with, but parents just don't adjust their parenting style into the teen years. You've got to change how you parent with teenagers. You back off a bit. Let them be their own leaders. Negotiate more with them with stuff. So, okay. Can't pick up tantruming toddler leaving playground as I'm carrying a 9-month-old baby. Refuses to hold my hand while crossing the use the shopping goodie bag. I don't know about that. Yeah, this is kind of when my hands are tied. Well, I can't stop them from biting because I'm nursing a baby. If you can't physically do what I recommend, then you just have to wait it out. Okay, if you can't carry them out of the playground, they're having a fit, you're just going to have to stand there and wait it out. If you physically can't, because you have to be physical to get them out of the playground. If you can't be physical, I can't tell you what to do. You're just going to have to wait it out, period. Thank you for all your knowledge. It really helped me as a parent. Love your videos. Thanks so much for your support. I'm on Facebook, right? I hit 200,000 a few days ago, so I'm really grateful for that. Um, so yeah, thanks for your support. That's just amazing. 200,000. I can't even envision 200,000 people. Like that's amazing. Um, okay, and I hit 400,000 on Instagram last week. I think it was about the same day. So, and I'm over 600 on TikTok, but that was a while ago. But yeah, so it was like in the same week, I hit 200 and 400,000. Okay. How do you get a 15-month-old to not fight through diaper changes? Here again, you're asking me how to change children. We don't. You change yourself. So when you say, I'm going to change your diaper, hold them down and change it as fast as possible. Okay, they will eventually learn that there's no fighting you. Like a good example of that was me and my husband at the time. I was more the stronger leader. I had a lot of experience with kids when we had our kids. So when they'd start to fight, diaper change, they'd start to do the crocodile spinning, right? So as soon as they started acting like that, I just put my arm across their chest and changed them really fast because I said, I'm going to change your diaper. And it's good. They knew when mom said it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Dad would often go into the negotiations. Well, what if I get you a toy? Do you want this? Do you want that? So it made things harder for him. It's not, it's not bad, but I mean, it's just, they will fight you more if they think there's a chance they can win. You never let them win those battles. If you do, they're in charge and they know it. Boy, they pick up on that energy because our kids are very different with their dad than they were with me. They just knew when mom said, I'm going to change your diaper, it's going to get changed. Okay. But initially they will fight you, but eventually they'll learn. 15 months is still kind of a baby. Okay. My 4-year-old bites his arm, teeth marks whenever he gets angry or not what he wants. Okay, that's a tricky one because he's 4. Okay, he's doing that because he knows it upsets you, and there's not much you can do about that because he's 4 years old. Because if you were to say just bite into this instead, like give him a straw cup or something that he can bite instead, out of spite, he still might bite himself. All you can try and do is prevent him from doing that physically, but eventually he's going to get tired of hurting himself. That might be one that you have to wait it out. Because at 4, if he's doing that, he's 4. It's different at 4. So, yeah, he's just doing it to get attention and to upset you and possibly win and get his own way. Yeah, they do make biting necklaces and it can work, but I'm suggesting at 4 years old, he's probably figured out that it upsets the parents. He's probably not going to use the biting necklace. It might work. There's all sorts of stuff you can do and like sensory issue stuff. But at 4, yeah, I don't know. Okay, how to teach a 2-year-old toddler manners, say please and thank you. It's just a slow burn. They'll eventually learn. Like my kids knew if they didn't say please or, well, thank you is different. But if they didn't say please, then they didn't get what I would say. If they'd say, oh, whatever, I don't know, juice. And then I said, juice, please. And then they just learned to say please. But don't worry about that. They're only 2. You're worrying about something that doesn't really matter right now. But just always attach that. And then thank you is harder. I remember my daughter was learning this. I don't know how old she was. Anyway, she was little. And I said, say please. And she'd go, pois. She couldn't say please. She'd go, pois. And then I'd say, say thank you. And she'd go, thank you, whatever. And then I said, you're welcome. She'd go, you're welcome. So I said, no, you don't say that. So and then I say, you're welcome. You're welcome. Like I couldn't get her to not say you're welcome. So I'd go, okay, then you're welcome. You're welcome. Like she'd always wait for it. She knew it was coming. It was really funny. How can I get my 10-year-old to listen the first time, not the millionth time? You got to earn his respect. A lot of parents they're blaming their kids for this stuff. It's you. You take responsibility for him. Okay. Between the ages of 3 and 12 years old, their behavior is a direct result of your parenting. It means he doesn't respect you. You got to work on your leadership skills, and that won't happen. Everyone wants to blame their kids. It's you. If you were a leader, he would listen. So work on yourself, work on your leadership skills. Check out my boot camp course. This is another cute story about my daughter. She was, I don't know, 5 or 6. She was in school, and they learn Christmas songs, and they spend weeks learning all these songs, right? So she couldn't understand why after Christmas she had to stop singing them. So it was like June, jingle bells. She just couldn't understand. She was really little. And I didn't want to discourage her from singing, but I just remember that was so cute. Okay. How do I break my 2.5-year-old of being dependent on his bottle? Just cut it off. When my son was 18 months old, and I decided I was going to take the dummy away from him. We'd just been on a big trip overseas, so that was the time to do it. I wasn't going to do it before the big trip. Anyway, on that plane, it took 24 hours to go to Canada from Australia because we had a stopover, and that he didn't sleep in 24 hours. Oh God, he was good, but anyway, he was very wired. His eyes were like this big. Anyway, so I wasn't going to take the dummy away before that trip. So we get home. We both had jet lag. It was the day after the big trip. We get back to Australia. And so I thought, that's it. I'm going to take the dummies away from him. So I had him help me. And I said, you're a big boy now. Now he was 1.5. And I said, you're a big boy now. Probably didn't understand me, but I said it anyway. And I said, let's put all the dummies in a bag, and zipped it up or whatever. And then I said, now, and I picked him up, and he held on to this bag full of dummies. And I opened up the big garbage bin in the garage. And then I said, okay, put them in. Bye-bye, bye-bye. And then I gave him sippy cups with straws to replace the dummy. So I gave him something new to replace it with. Anyway, and he had tantrums. So I thought, oh, why did I do this? I got jet lag, and he's got jet lag. Why on earth did I choose today to do this? And I thought, it's going to be a hell of a day, because I was just so sick of him using the dummies. I wanted to get rid of them as soon as possible. Anyway, so he didn't ask for a dummy once all day. No tantrums, nothing. I couldn't believe it. But every so often, he'd go like this. Then he'd look over at me, like, because he was confused why he didn't have a dummy in his mouth. And as soon as he'd look at me, I'd go like that, and I'd look away. There's no way I was going to get eye contact when he was looking for a dummy. But yeah, you just got to take it away. But show a big show of bye-bye, all gone, right? You're a big boy now. Doesn't mean it's going to work, but it might. I'd still do it that way anyway. Yeah, if you ask me about students or daycare or anything, I won't answer that. I only teach parenting or grandparenting or anything. I won't answer it because I only teach parenting. So yeah, like the nanny, I don't answer those questions. I stay in my lane. I just teach parenting. I don't teach nannying, teaching. I don't know anything about those things. Because even when I was working with kids, I was always kind of mothering them. I wasn't a teacher or I was mothering them. I was like a mentor. So I was always dealing with kids with bad behavior and supporting the school, the hospital, the wherever, care center, whatever. So I was always mothering. That's all I know. All I know is parenting. Okay. I was wondering, how do you get kids to stop fighting over toys even after 24-hour media blackout? So I don't know how old they are, for one thing, but I would just, okay, they're fighting over toys, but they've already had 24-hour media blackout. How old are they? And yeah, you would just say, well, you can take turns with it. You get 10 minutes with it. You get 10 minutes with it. If they're older, they can understand that, because if they've got 24-hour media blackout, they have to be 3 and over. Okay, they have to, on the behavior board, it starts at 3. So I'm a little bit confused. Their age is, I don't know their age. Yeah, if they're fighting it, or basically I just take it away for the day. You're fighting over it. There we go. You'll see it tomorrow. There's lots of different ways to deal with that. No grandparenting questions. Nope, I don't teach grandparenting at all. Because if I told you what to do and the parents didn't like it, you get what I'm saying here? I'm a grandparent. Yeah, I just teach parenting. I'm very strict about that. Putting a toy in timeout helps at my house, and then taking turns. Yeah, I hate timeout, but I've never put a toy in timeout. But yeah, I guess it's like timeout, right? Just for the toy instead of the child. Is it okay to give a 3-year-old a second chance before a consequence? No, because that's like saying it's okay to hit your little sister once, but not twice. See what I mean? When they do something and they know it's bad, if they don't have any idea that it's naughty, then I'd say that was bad. You do that again, then there'll be a consequence. But they almost always know when it's bad. So parents are very quick to tell me how gifted and brilliant their children are at the very first session when they first start working with me. And then as we go along, oh, he forgot, he didn't understand. All of a sudden, the kid becomes a complete moron. Like, you can't have it both ways. Is he gifted, or is he a moron that he can't remember to follow the rules? See what I mean? I forgot. Well, you'll know next time, won't you? Like, it's quite funny. Is it okay to put peeing pants on the behavior board? Absolutely not. We never put bodily functions on there. We never want to shame a child, because a rule is like a bad behavior or something that we want them to do right. Peeing their pants is not a bad behavior. Even if they're doing it on purpose, we never put bodily functions on there. It does something to them. You don't want to shame them for that stuff. So yeah, I wouldn't put it on there at all. Okay, let me see here. You got a 3-year-old fighting diaper changes, night only. Mostly she's potty trained. I'm guessing she's fighting it because I've given a big reaction before. I need to work on not reacting. Well, at 3 years old, they're usually potty trained. And a night diaper, I don't know why she would have a night diaper on, and then mostly potty trained. I don't understand that. Is she potty trained or isn't she? So there's some conflicting information there. I'm not too sure how to answer that. What to do about a 5-year-old that always has a poor me attitude? So he's negative Nelly or negative Ned. Poor me attitude. Well, I kind of need some context around that. Is it just when he loses at a game, or is it overall he's just depressed all the time? I don't know which it is. What age do you get rid of the binky and how? Yeah, I just talked about that. There is no specific age. My son was 18 months old, and I showed him, we put up all the binkies. Now, when you say binky, it's a dummy, right? Sometimes people call a blanket a binky, but I'm assuming you mean a dummy or a soother or a pacifier or whatever. So yeah, we put them all in a little bag, and I gave it to him. He was 18 months old. I picked him up, and he dropped the bag in the big wheelie bin. I shut the lid, and I said, bye-bye, all gone. And then I got him something to replace it with, those little straw cups, sippy cups. And how do I stop my 10-year-old saying, I wish I'm dead when angry? We talk after it, but in the heat of the moment, I can't stop. Yeah, that's sort of a manipulative tactic. And again, you're going to hate me saying this. You work on your leadership skills. They just don't talk like that. It's a manipulative tactic. And unless he does have some depression issues, then you'd want to hire me and I'd look into that. But if generally if he only says that when he's angry, it's usually just a manipulative tactic. It says that you're not a leader, and he thinks that there's a chance that you might give in or cave in. And then the fact that you're all, okay, well, let's talk about that and everything. You see, it's getting him some reward somehow, but I can't make that call. What if he really is depressed? Then you'd have to look into coaching. I deal with crisis work. But yeah. Oops. Let me see. I got one more question, then I'm going to go over to Instagram. My 7-year-old son is in, oh, shoot. Sorry, my throat's just a bit raw. I just had a cold. I've just got over it. Geez, it lasted a long time. And I talk for a living. It was so frustrating. Okay, my 7-year-old is in counseling, and his behavior has never affected him in school, but now it's starting to. How do you approach this? Well, I don't know what his problem is. So, and a 7-year-old in counseling, I don't know if there was some trauma, some abuse, something going on with him. Has he got some challenges, some social challenges, some emotional challenges? I don't know. I can't answer that. That's too broad of a question. So yeah, if you want me to work with you, then you would have to look into coaching. But you might just want to try the boot camp course. It goes from 3 to 12 years old, and it's all about your leadership. It tends to calm them down. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with him. Can't assess that over that little question there. Okay. Help me, we need your behavior board. Well, that's completely free. So you can just check that out in the link above. Okay, I got to get going over to Instagram now. If you look at the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. I have a wait list for coaching. If I'm not answering your messages about coaching, it's just that I don't have any spaces available right now. So I'll get to them. They're all in a queue. So anyway, I'm heading over to, Yeah, that's it. Okay, and I'm heading over to Instagram now, and it's Bratbusters Parenting over there. And I'm on YouTube the whole time. That's where all of my lives are saved. Thanks for joining me. Happy parenting. Did I say I'm heading over to Instagram or YouTube? Anyway, doesn't matter. Most people are regulars. They know where I'm going. Oops, come on. There we go. Okay. This is Mew on YouTube. My high IQ syndrome 12-year-old. What's high IQ syndrome? What's the syndrome word mean? Loves to argue. It's like living with a lawyer. How can I redirect him or get him to stop arguing? IQ doesn't usually have anything to do with an argumentative personality. So I wouldn't equate the two, by the way. He started arguing. I would suggest that he's a sore loser and winning is a big deal in your household. It's a competitive household. So yeah, I'd think about that. Is winning a big deal in your house? Yeah, I don't know. Or perhaps he's just entitled because you've made such a big deal out of his high IQ. My son was labeled gifted, and I never treated him any different. I remember that when we had him assessed, he was 3 years old. I went to the mall after he was assessed as gifted. He was offered some big scholarship too. Anyway, so I said no to all that. I don't like that stuff. I just wanted to mean he's just a normal kid. So anyway, and I took him to the mall, and he threw himself on the ground and had a tantrum that day. And I looked at him and I go, yeah, you're gifted, all right. Means nothing to me. It's funny. And this is, I've been taking your advice lately. Thank you. Excellent. That means it must be working. Good for you. I give advice, but you're the ones who do the work. So pat yourself on the back if it's working. How do I get my 15-month-old to stop hitting himself when he's upset? You just restrain him, physically restrain him. So that's still kind of a baby. So you physically restrain them, and then you might want to start reading his favorite book out loud to yourself, or just right beside him while you're restraining him, and it will redirect him. But it's indirect redirection. I never like to redirect like this. Here's a candy. Here's not like that, because it's sort of a reward for what they're doing. So he'll equate hitting himself with getting a candy, right? But you just sort of start reading a book, something calm, not something too exciting. Just start reading his favorite book out loud, and then eventually he'll stop hitting himself, but just physically restrain. So I'm skipping ahead just to make sure you're here when I answer. How do I get my toddler to quit throwing food when eating? That's kind of an easy one. What you do is you don't give them a lot to eat if you know they're going to throw food. So you just give them a little bit and save the rest, right? And so you just start with a little bit at a time. As soon as he throws it, you say no. You pick it up, throw it in the garbage, and then you hand feed. He may not want to eat. No, me do it, whatever. And you just say no, and you keep hand feeding. And then if he won't eat at all, then you wash him up and say, okay, you're all done. Then maybe a half hour later, you try it again, keep trying again. So you're hand feeding him. If he throws food, then you hand feed him, okay? Now, here's the thing. A lot of parents say, oh, God, well, he loves being hand-fed. I said, okay, I've got an answer for that too. If he loves being hand-fed, this is what you do. You get really slow and stupid. So you like pick up the food and you go, here you go. Oh, did I take out the laundry? Did I do the laundry? Oh, wait a minute. And then, oops, I dropped it. You get real slow and stupid with it. And eventually he'll just grab the spoon and eat himself. So, yeah. What's the best way to potty train a 2-year-old boy? I have a whole course on that. It's called the Potty Party. I think that's what I called it. Anyway, it's a whole process. It's literally a party just with you and your kid. It's messy, but it's a party. So check that out. There's a lot involved in that. And but anyway, I suggest you potty train at 2.5. Some kids could be earlier, but 2.5 is a really good age. They can almost all be potty trained at 2.5. But there are exceptions to everything, right? We're dealing with human beings here. Like I'm just working the odds. I'm saying at 2.5, most of them can be potty trained. But I trained my son in 1 day, my daughter in 2 days. No pull-ups, no night diapers, nothing. But I did take a porta potty everywhere I went. So I'll tell you a funny story. My son had just been potty trained, so he would have been 2.5. And so I did everything right. I had the potty party in the little porta potty in the car just in case. And I asked him before we went grocery shopping. No, I'm fine. He'd just gone before we went out. I didn't give him anything to drink. I did all the prep. Anyway, so we're we're in the checkout at the supermarket, and I had a huge shopping trolley full of groceries, and I'm in the checkout, and he says, I have to poo. Oh, great. So I didn't, nothing I can do about that one. So I said, oh, great. I said, can you wait? We're almost done here. And he goes, I have to poo now. Now, when a 2.5-year-old says I have to poo now, it's probably coming out. It's probably crowning, right? So anyway, now this is in Australia where I raised my kids. And the supermarkets are inside malls. They're not freestanding. There's no external entrance in there. So when you exit the supermarket, you're in the mall. The bathroom is at the other end of the mall. And here I have a 2-year-old with a poop crowning. So I took the checkout lady said, we'll do everything for you. Just run. I was a regular there. They said, we'll pack up all your groceries. Just run. So I ran with him. I'm trying to squeeze his butt cheeks together. So I'm running with him. And I hate public toilets, especially with a little one that might put their hands on it and everything. So I ripped his pants down, hung him over the toilet, and he actually pooped on the toilet. So I caught it. But oh my God, potty training. Oh, it's messy. Yeah, when a 2.5-year-old says I have to poo now, it's probably crowning. Yeah, I'm sure it was. Speaking of crowning, sorry about the intro there, but one of my daughter's friends just had a baby, and he was 10 pounds. Wow. I think he was 1 week late. 10 pounds. That's a whopper. I don't know if she'll be sitting on a donut for a while. I don't know. Yikes. Have you worked with kids in trauma in the foster system? Oh, yes, a lot of them. Yeah, I used to specialize in teen crisis work. So, and any kind of abuse or PTSD, trauma, whatever, with kids. So I used to specialize in all that stuff. So yeah, I've done all that. So I'm just scrolling just to make sure you're still here when I answer your question, because people come and go all the time. How to get a 2.5-year-old back to his own bed. I have a course on that. It's called Bedtime Battles. Now, it goes from 2 to 8 years old, and Bedtime Battles is in 2 parts. The first part is how to get them to bed. The second part is how to keep them there. That's the hard part, keeping them in bed. It's a process. I'll be honest, it's usually a night of hell, but it's often only one night, maybe a bit of 2, maybe a bit of 3 too. But it's usually, it's a quick process, but it's hell. So yeah, anyway, check out that course. It's a whole system and how you keep them in bed. And yeah, it's ugly, but it's worth it. It's one of those, some things are easier to do, but they take a lot longer. Bedtime Battles is hard to do, but it's often one night. Mealtime Battles is easier to do, but it can drag on and drag on. So yeah. Two-year-old just started to scream for fun, help. I just say no and move on. I would just sort of turn around and walk away every time he screams. I know you can't always do that, but you're trying to send the message that it means nothing to me. He's just doing it for a reaction. If he doesn't get one, he'll eventually stop, but he's going to do it for a while. They don't stop. They don't learn right away. Toddlers learn slowly. How do I get a 2-year-old to stop throwing tantrums? You don't. You manage the tantrum, and they will diminish in frequency, duration, and intensity. So I have a course on that, how you manage tantrums. It's called Toddler Tantrum Busting. Basically, you just ignore the tantrum. I have a ton of videos on how you ignore a tantrum. There's a very specific way of doing it. Like you would never go on your phone when they're having a tantrum. I think that's rude. And also, like I would just be standing there filing my nails like this. Like I'm just waiting, I'm waiting. As soon as they finished, oh, you all done? You want to read a book? You never discuss a tantrum before, during, or after. There's no point whatsoever. I don't give it any attention whatsoever, before, during, or after. There's no point. When I get a child psychologist for a client, they'll often argue that. They'll say, well, you got to validate all their feelings. I say, no, it's ridiculous. Why do you? You don't need to validate them having an emotional fit over not getting their own way. I would never validate that. I give it zero attention. The other thing that they'll argue with is that praise can lead to good behavior. Nope. I completely disagree with that one. Praise does not lead to good behavior. You're such a good boy. Doesn't lead to him being a good boy. Consequences lead to good behavior. And your leadership, you lead with fun. If you're not connecting with your kids and playing with them, none of this other stuff's going to work. Because you got to meet their needs and manage their wants. Managing their wants is the discipline. Meeting their needs is connecting with them, having fun with them, having a healthy relationship with them. That's meeting their needs. and then you can manage their wants. With younger children, you can do it synonymously, like together. You're playing with them and disciplining them. With teenagers, you got to connect with them before you even think about dealing with the behavior. So yeah, a lot of parents are frustrated with me in coaching with teenagers, but I specialize in that age. So but yeah, in the first week or two, we're not even addressing their bad behavior. We're working on strengthening their bond, their connection, and then you can start to work on the other stuff. It takes a while. It's taken you how many years? 15, 16 years to get where you are. And then parents want all the solutions in week one. Because by the time they hire me, they're so desperate. So say, slow it down. It's a process. Advice helping a 7-year-old who regressed since being abused at 4 years old. You'd have to hire me for that one. That's a big one. So yeah, I can't discuss that here. I don't know the whole context. I don't know the whole story. So yeah, I work with a lot of abused kids. And they're all different too. I don't know what kind of abuse it was. Dealt with all sorts of awful stuff. Okay. Any advice for night terrors for a 4-year-old? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Night terrors, I've been told this by doctors, they're sort of a continued nightmare. Like you have a nightmare, and then when they wake up, they don't realize they're awake. They're still having the nightmare. It just hasn't stopped rolling once they wake up. So evidently, that's what they've told me night terrors are. So I'm not entirely sure. So, but one way, a couple of different things that I can suggest is that you have a sound machine, so that when they hear the sound machine, it sort of wakes them up, or the galaxy lights, something that visually or sound wise that reminds them they actually are awake. It helps them wake up and realize that was a nightmare. But some people just get night terrors. I knew someone once who used to wake up screaming. It was an adult, and never woke up either, but would just sit up and scream. Anyway. How do you stop a 20-month-old from hitting? I have a course on that too, if you're interested. The basic answer is you use consistent corrective action. So if they hit, bite, kick, whatever, you say no, and then you make sure you remove them or remove the fun from them, but it's just really quick. And it takes like 20 to 50 times before they actually learn, because they learn through repetition. They learn through like a knee-jerk reaction. They're not really thinking it through. It's like they'll touch a hot stove maybe 20 times, but maybe not the 21st. But they're not really thinking it through. They just get used to it. So if every single time they hit or whatever, you say no and you push them away and you take the toy away or whatever it is, make sure that there's a negative reaction, consistent corrective actions. So they will eventually learn. Yeah, my son's sound machine and galaxy lights help with night terrors exactly like that. Yeah, that's what I've recommended. That clients have told me it doesn't always work. Not everything's going to work every time. I'm not a miracle worker here. Like, we're still dealing with human beings, even though they're tiny. They've still got their own individual wants and needs and tendencies. And, I always have heard everything. And every so often something will come out and I'll think, well, I haven't heard that. But it's rare. I've been doing this for 17 years. So it's rare that that'll happen now. But yeah, every so often something will come up and I think, well, that's a new one. I'll tell you, a new one was, I had this client, I finished with them a couple months ago. And they had this little 8-year-old girl, and she was a little bit of a handful. And they told me initially, they said, oh, she's really bright. Everyone says that. She's really bright. So it turns out she was. But I think week 2, they said, wait till you hear what she did. She decided that she liked that behavior board at first because the parents were because you're on it too, the parents were being punished when they made a mistake, right? She liked that part. Then when she realized she was going to be punished, she decided she didn't want it anymore. Here's the clever part. You know what she did? She said to her parents, now the behavior board's right there, and she says, and she knew that she called me that lady. So she said, you're wonderful parents. You don't need that lady anymore. And she pulled down the board. She's the only kid I've ever heard that buttered up the parents to get rid of me. So the parents put the board back up and said, it's happening. But isn't that hilarious? I thought that was so cute. You're wonderful parents. You don't need that lady anymore. I never heard another kid say that. I thought that was so cute. She came up with, I can't remember what the other thing was, though. She came up with another funny one, too. So yeah, the parents and I were just cracking up. Okay, any advice for 4-year-old who's afraid of other kids, has been since very young, doesn't like to interact with them or talk to them. He's in kinder now, but does anything to not go. I would have to assess that. I'd have to figure that one out. That would be more coaching if you're interested. Yeah, I'd have to figure that out, because when you say very young, what is young? Did anything happen? If not, how did it manifest itself? A lot of parents think, oh my God, what happened? It's not always something big. It can be something really little. That just turn them off other kids. Maybe some kid looked at them the wrong way. They can just be hypersensitive to stuff. I'd have to figure that out. And we just try a bunch of different techniques and see if we could fix that up. I don't know. I don't know why. I'd have to figure that out. You got to put the ages down. I can't answer if there's not an age. "11-month-old having tantrums?" Yeah, they can have tantrums as they're newborns. Yeah. You know how they just turn red and scream and you can't. I remember my son, he had tantrums in the womb. I can remember I would push his foot, and he wasn't a difficult kid. He was actually quite an easy kid. He didn't have a lot of tantrums, but he had them. I remember he'd put his foot up when he was inside me, and I'd try and push it down, and he'd push back, and then he'd squirm like crazy. And I remember thinking, ooh, he's going to have a bit of a temper. I remember that. Whereas my daughter, she'd put her foot up, I'd push back, and she'd pull it in and not move for ages. And I thought, oh, she's going to be an easy one. It's a basic temperament. They just fight against things if they have a temper. So yeah, they'll do that from newborn age. And also when he was born, if he couldn't get on the boob right away, he would have a fit. There was no, took forever to get him on there. Once he decided he was upset that he couldn't get the boob, then he would just scream and you couldn't calm him down. So I'd have to hold his head, wrap his mouth around. It was just awful. So yeah, they can be newborn and having them. I thought he was precious anyway. He wasn't difficult. He didn't cry a lot, but yeah, he would get upset at times for sure from the newborn. Oops. My 3-year-old whinges and complains a lot. How can I help? You must be Australian. That's whinging is whining. That's where my kids were. I was in Australia for 20 years. 7-year-old whinges and complains a lot. How can we help her? When does she do that? Does she do it all the time? Yeah, that's not in the bad behavior department, but that's in an outlook and life department. Yeah, there's things you can do, but I would have to figure that out. Anyway, also, if you're a leader, they don't tend to do that. They don't tend to complain and whinge a lot. So check out the boot camp course. That might be a good fit for you. I always try and push people into the boot camp course aside from coaching, unless you really, really need that one-on-one time. It's just because I can't take everyone on. I'm so busy these days. But the boot camp course might be all you need. It tends to calm them down. They don't tend to complain much. They just don't when you're a leader. They feel taken care of. They feel calmer when you're a leader. They have higher self-esteem. And they tend to have better attitudes overall. From London. I was just going back to see if you're the one who said the word whinges, because I'm a lot of stuff that, like in the Australian way of speaking, different words in that. I'm sure a lot of that is from England, right? How do I then help him work through his tantrum at 11 months old? Not really. It's not much you can do. It's just something that he's going to have to learn to get out of. You're going to just have to put up with them. And you don't give in to them, but you can redirect him, okay? So if he's getting all upset over something, you can go, oh, what's this? But yeah, in the moment, there's not much you can do. It's just something you're going to have to live with for a while. But you can, when you get better at dealing with them, I do have a course on toddler tantrums, but he's almost 1. What age did I put on that course? It was very specific, 1 to 3 years old. Yeah. And the reason I stopped at 3 was by that age, they're usually outgrowing tantrums if you're a good leader. 4-year-old accuses us of ignoring during a tantrum. Do we address? No, you just keep ignoring. You don't have, whenever they'll eventually learn. You can tell them later when he's calmed down. I might say this. I'll tell you what, when you're having a tantrum, we're going to be ignoring you. Do you understand that? Okay, that's it. That's all I'd say. He's 4. You've already explained why you're ignoring him. Do not explain it again. The more you explain, the more they complain, okay? Don't let them drag you into that. But that's after everything's calmed down. Don't say that in the heat of the moment. So yeah, accuses us of ignoring during a tantrum. Good, that means you're doing it right. So good. He just told me that you're doing that right. Oh, so I'm just looking at YouTube. Okay, this is back to high IQ syndrome. I still don't know the high IQ syndrome. His teacher suggested assessment. He's actually not great at school and we're not competitive. I never knew about the disability as well, but it's not what you think. Okay, no, I've never heard of it. Plus, I stay out of the medical field anyway. I'm very careful about that. Generally, I've worked with a lot of children with disabilities, varying disabilities. This leadership stuff, you lead with fun. You meet their needs and manage their wants, but you lead with fun. You want to connect with these kids. I haven't met a kid that this doesn't work with. With autism, you have to get a little bit more creative sometimes, especially if they have severe sensory issues. You have to get a little bit more creative. We throw mud on the wall and see what sticks. But yeah, all the kids I worked with had issues. I never got an easy kid to work with. No one ever said to me, here's an easy one, Lisa. They always said, good luck with this one. So all the kids I worked with were alphabet kids. They always had, ADHD, WXYZ, ASD after their name. That's what I was working with. So I found this leadership stuff tends to, even if it's not going to get the perfect results that you want, it's a pretty good thing to start with, is being a calm leader for your children and knowing how to connect with them and lead with fun. So fun is their love language, by the way. Play is their love language. Fun is their love language. So yeah, it can't hurt to be a leader. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention I just hit 400,000 here on Instagram a few days ago, and I just want to thank you for your support. It does not go unappreciated. I'm overwhelmed, to be honest. So yeah, and last week I hit 200,000 on Facebook too. Like I think the same day I hit 200,000 on Facebook and 400. So I just want to say thank you for all your support. I really appreciate it. And I put a lot into this. I've been doing this for 17 years, and I put a lot into this. It's kind of nice that it's appreciated, and because it's not just a job to me. This is like a passion in my life. This is my mission in life, I don't just want you to raise great kids. That's not what I'm all about. I want you to enjoy parenting as much as I did. I want you to have fun with your kids. I want you to be friends with them. You're parent number one, but if they don't need discipline, just be goofy and fun and have a blast with your kids like I did. That's what I want for you. When you've got that mutual respect going, that'll take you right through the teen years. So yeah, I love what I do. I send your page to all my mom friends. Thanks so much for that. I appreciate it. How about midnight tantrums and taking away the night diaper? Wow, yeah. Check out for the night diaper. I don't know how old he is. Check out, you might want to, I don't know whether or not that's bedtime battles or potty training. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you because I don't know how old he is, but it could be either one of those. The midnight tantrums are bedtime battles. The night diaper is potty training. But if he's like 3 and over, then potty training course might not be good for you. So yeah, I don't know. 3-year-old is, you're going to hate my answer. Sorry. I'm apologizing ahead of time. 3-year-old is testing his boundaries and argues when he's being told no. Okay. 3 years old is a fork in the road. If you've been a leader for the first 3 years of their life, at 3, they get super easy. If you've been a pleaser and letting that child get away with stuff, they go the other way. Okay, they find their power. They almost stop on their 3rd birthday. It's like they go like this. Wait a minute. You don't know what you're doing. I'm going to take over. That's what happens. They find their power. And but if you've been a leader, that's when they just go, wait a minute, you know what you're doing. Life's great. They just get easier. Okay, that's when everything gets really easy. So that's the fork in the road. Work on your leadership skills. Okay, that's what this is all about. I just teach leadership. I've worked with hundreds of kids and I managed to get respect with them all. Was it them or was it me? And they all had challenges. I never worked with easy kids. My kids were easy, but I mean, that's not where I learned most of this, to be honest. It was through all the kids I worked with. And my favorite age is teenagers. because of course they're the best company because they're the most mature and they're, you know what I mean? Like they're the most interesting in a lot of ways. That's why I like them. When you know how to talk to teenagers and how to respect them and how to give respect to get it, they're fantastic. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just that parents don't adjust their parenting to adjust to the teen years. So that's why teens rebel. My son was 15 and he said, and he would have liked to have rebelled. He had it in him. And he said to me, well, I could never even rebel. You're too reasonable and easy to talk to. And I thought, do I celebrate or apologize? So I apologized to his face and then I went and celebrated. How do you know if you're a good leader? My 2.5-year-old is easy and my little buddy, is he just an easy kid? Could very well be the case. Yeah, I don't know. Some kids are just easy and you'll probably won't even be on here asking any questions, right? A lot of kids, like my daughter was like that, just super, super easy. The only thing I really worked on with her was confidence. She was very much a mummy's girl, hanging on to me a lot. She just was very attached to me. So I was always pushing her out there to join things. And now she's she's 29 now, but she became a real joiner, very outgoing. So yeah. Some kids are just really easy. If you're a leader, you know it. You just do. Like when I'm working with parents or even parents just going through the boot camp course, they'll say, I get it. I'm a leader now. They just know. They can feel it. They can feel the energy. The thing is, you're not afraid of your kids anymore. You think, I know what I'm going to do, or I'll figure it out. So you'll know if you're a leader. Almost 3-year-old thumb sucking, is that something for behavior board? Absolutely not, because that's a habit that they just can't get out of. I can't really help you with that one because you can't take their thumb away. Bitters don't work. But the only thing that I recommend is get them something to do instead. So every time they go to suck on their thumb, put something on there, like maybe nail polish. Like if it's a little boy, just put black nail polish or something on there, or a Band-Aid on the end. And then that reminds them, hey, wait a minute, I'm going to use this fidget or whatever, those fidget toys or whatever. So something like that, something to do instead. But there's got to be a reminder. So yeah, I knew someone years ago I'm sure he did it in his sleep, but he was like 12 years old. He was still sucking his thumb. I didn't do anything. Why have I got fireworks behind me? I didn't do that. Anyway, and he had as an adult, he has no thumbprints because he sucked his thumb. Isn't that interesting? You can suck your thumbprints. I guess maybe he was heading for a life of crime or something. No fingerprint. Why is that fireworks happening? How do I stop that? Okay. Oh, is that why? Oh, thank you. They said it's because you did the 2 thumbs up. That's why the fireworks happened. Wow, I did something else and something else happened too. So it's me. I knew it was me, but I didn't know what I was doing. Thank you. There was something else that kept coming up for a while there, and I must have stopped doing it because I haven't seen it for a while. I'll be very aware of that now. Thank you. Oh, that's funny. Oh, goodness. I've been a terrible leader to my 3-year-old. How do I even begin to turn it around once she's already started down the wrong fork in the road? Okay, check out the boot camp course. She's tiny. She's only 3 years old. I specialize in teenagers. It takes a lot longer with teenagers, but you can still, it's not too late. It's a sign. If all of a sudden she got wild, you go, whoops, I better work on my leadership skills. I find the results are pretty easy to get. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is getting harder, and then the teen years is the hardest to set yourself up as a leader. It's doable, but it takes more work, right? But yeah, she's still really little. 3 is still really little. Where am I? Am I on 5:30? Okay, I must be on Instagram. Okay, because I'm going to go over to TikTok soon because I do a half hour on each platform, and then I'm on YouTube the whole time. YouTube is where I save all of these. But yeah, so I go from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok. I've been doing my TikTok for 2 years now. Pretty much daily I've been doing lives on TikTok, except recently. I just got so busy this year. So I haven't been able to do my daily lives, but on TikTok, I did them for every single day for a very long time. Okay, good question here. How to address, and then I got to move over. How to address unwanted behaviors that aren't on the behavior board. As you said, only focus on the 2 or so behaviors. Okay, so the behavior boards, you're going to have 3 of them, 1 per week. Okay, 1 rule per week. And then you're starting to learn how to be a leader. And then I don't really go into the after that so much, but just keep watching. If you're going to buy the boot camp course, it explains what you do in week 4 and 5. And that's all about in the moment discipline. So you already know how to do this. Say, hey, that wasn't good. So you're going to be doing a chore now. So you just start to hand stuff out. You don't go to the board anymore. But yeah, you just don't focus on all the other stuff. The other stuff, you're just learning. By week 4, if you get good at the 3 behavior boards, then you can start addressing everything else. Otherwise, do whatever you were doing before. Just suffer through it, because the sign of your new leadership is those boards. Okay? That is the symbol of change. The rest of it, just say, well, and the most you might say, I'll tell you what, we'll deal with that later. Okay? So you can point out you don't like it, say, we'll deal with that later. Okay? We'll figure that out later in a week or 2 or whatever. Okay, I got to run over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, it's Bratbusters Parenting. If not, check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. There's a wait list for coaching, but you'll be answered in queues. Anyway, I'm going to put thumbs up. Am I going to get that? There you go, the fireworks. Isn't that cute? I like that. Okay, now that I know what's causing it, it was freaking me out before. Anyway, bye now, and I'm heading over to TikTok.
With late checkout.
TikTok always has ads on now. It didn't used to do that. Like it starts, as soon as you turn on TikTok now, it starts with ads. Oh, someone said on YouTube, I've tried 5 different times to get the behavior board with no luck. There's only one reason that happens, and that is you haven't confirmed your subscription or you've put in the wrong email. Because I get this, I don't even usually answer these anymore because I get so many people who put in the wrong email, and I'll check into it, and sure enough, or you haven't confirmed your subscription. So check into that, go back into the Podia and see, make sure you have to confirm your subscription and make sure it's the right email. But yeah, that's the only 2 reasons. The system's working, it's just that people do that wrong. So, okay. Someone sent me, I probably shouldn't talk about this, but someone was mad at me because I'd locked them out of their course, their boot camp course that they bought. They never even bought it. No record of them whatsoever. They were so mad at me because I took away their access from that one struck me as funny, just because they were so mad. And I thought, well, I'll check into it, but yeah, they never bought anything. So it's just their anger that struck me as so funny. We all do that. You know, we get mad and then we realize we're the ones at fault. Oopsie, never mind. Hope your day's been great. I just work all day. I love what I do. I'm very lucky. Okay, so I'm going to get going here where I'm on TikTok. Okay, so thanks so much for joining me. If you're new, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board. And by the way, that free behavior board takes about 30 minutes to arrive, okay? So, because I've got a third-party delivery system. I don't know how it works. Anyway, so the free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, of which I have 4. One is on tantrums, one's on bedtime battles, one is on hitting, and the other one is on, can't remember now. Tantrums, potty party. Yeah, potty train. Yeah, sorry. Can't remember what I wrote here. Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Or else you can look into the big boot camp course that goes from 3 to 12 years old, and it's all focused on you and your leadership. Remember, we're not fixing kids. We're teaching parents here. You lead, they will follow. Leaders get respect. They look up to you. You're like a mentor. They want to please you. Between the ages of 3 and 12 years old, you're at the height of your leadership skills. That's when all their behaviors are the direct result of your parenting. Isn't that nice to know you have all that control? You can learn how to do this. You can learn how to get respect. So they want to be nice to you. They want to treat you well. They just feel good about themselves. You give them something to be proud of. Children who are acting out and have very low self-esteem, and what's there to be proud of? So yeah, you're not doing them any favor by letting them get away with stuff. Well, I don't quite know how to answer this. My almost 2-year-old keeps saying no mine. How do I correct this? You don't. You just don't let them have what you just said no to. So it's about actions, not about words. So yeah, if they say no mine, then and you've just taken it away because you don't want them to have it, just put it away and ignore them. Yeah, just ignore it. They're just trying to win, that's all. So scared of not being a leader. My daughter's almost one. Well, yeah, I wouldn't worry about it quite yet. But just check it all out. I've got lots of clients who just have toddlers, and we're basically investing in tomorrow. Toddlers are a very slow burn. They're not going to learn anything today. It's going to take them probably weeks or months to really, learn how not to hit, but I'm always talking to parents about how you engage with toddlers and how you're consistent. And I want to set them up for that age 3 when they stop and think. And that's when they either get really easy or really difficult, depending on what kind of parent you are. Okay. He'll respect you. We'll learn how to be a leader and they will respect you. Okay, but toddlers are a bit of a loose cannon anyway. I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Don't expect too much from toddlers. They haven't formed yet. They're going to be nuts for a while. Usually when someone hires me and they've got older kids and toddlers, I'll say to them, did you want to talk about the toddler? And they'll say, no, they're just crazy. They get it. They've already survived the toddler years. Don't try and make sense out of them. That's rule number 5. I'm jumping the gun. I'll read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is when you want to connect with a toddler, you enter their world. You don't take them to the nail salon with you. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. They look at you differently when you enter their world. Play on their level. Number 4 is you stop with the mini therapy sessions when you're disciplining them, talking about their big feelings and big emotions. It's absolute crap. They're not about words. They're not about therapy. They're about actions. You use consistent corrective actions when you want to correct bad behavior under the age of 3. And that takes repetition, repetition, repetition. Be consistent. And number 5, I've already said what it is. Number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're just forming. I always say they're crazy, but it's just that they haven't developed sanity yet. Their brains are just forming. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there. Okay, they're cute as a button, but they're all feet, no brains. Okay. How to answer my 5-year-old kid if he is a girl or a boy and he says he is a girl. Just go, alrighty then. Yeah, don't worry about it. He may have gender confusion or something right now. It may not last. It may last. I don't know, but just go along with it. I wouldn't worry about it. The only thing I kind of recommend against, unless you're living in a big progressive city, is if they do decide that they want to cross-dress, right? Nothing wrong with that. Do that at home, but I would be very hesitant to let them go out in public like that when they're young. I'd be terrified about what other kids might do or say. So that's the only thing. Now, I'm not saying your child's going to do that, but I'm just saying, I'm just putting that out there in case anyone has that going on in their house. I think it's fine if they identify with, the opposite sex or whatever. But make sure, unless you're living in a very progressive, safe city, that it's acceptable. I wouldn't send them out in the road like that. I'd be terrified. They'd be targeted. You always say be a leader, but how? Without being controlling and authoritarian. Yeah, I don't teach authority or anything like that. A leader leads with fun, and you want to connect with your kids and have fun with them. That was my superpower. People always ask me, how do you get respect with kids? And I say, well, my weapon of choice is fun and humor. With teenagers, humor. With kids, fun. Their love language is fun. And when they like you and they enjoy you and that you obviously enjoy their company, everything just gets easier. So the connection is the most important part. Connect with them. Make them feel good about themselves. The pool story is the very first video here. Watch that. That explains leadership to a T. I don't take any crap at all. I deal with all bad behavior, but the pool story explains how I do it. I deal with bad behavior, but then all my focus and energy goes into the good kid, goes into connecting, goes into making them feel good about themselves. When they like themselves, when they're with you, they treat you like gold. Okay? You want your children to like themselves when they're with you. Okay, that's your superpower. It's not, you don't want them to like you. That's not the point. They will anyway. But the whole point is you want them to like themselves when they're with you. Does that make sense? You ever been with anyone that makes you feel great about yourself? It's no different with children. Don't you treat that person really well? Don't you want to be around them? Don't you want to please them? Someone who makes you feel like $1 million. How do you treat that person? It's no different with kids. If you make your kids feel great, they're going to treat you great. It's just the way it is. That's leadership to me, is how you make them feel. It's everything. There's no shame in this. If you're shaming your children for doing rotten things, they're going to do rotten things sometimes. If you shame them, that's not a leader. That's a bully. Yeah, I don't do that. I say, well, that was stupid. Okay, here's your consequence. Now you've learned. Right? That's it. No big deal. Yeah, don't shame. But did you say it like it is? If they do something stupid, well, that was stupid. Yeah, I know, Mom, I know. Yeah. So, yeah. I started your boot camp and already see a huge positive change in me and my girls. Dynamic. Oh, thank you so much. Now, I give you the information. You're the one who's doing the work. The people who don't succeed in anything I teach are the ones who struggle with their own emotions. It's the most common reason. They say, well, I just can't help it. They just get under my skin. They upset me. I end up yelling and then nothing. It's your own emotions that you have to take control of, usually. So that if you learn how to just calm down, follow the process and trust in it, it usually will work, okay? But it's the parents who really struggle with their own emotions. That's when people often hire me for coaching. A lot of people buy the boot camp course because they want it for reference material anyway. And then they realize they need the coaching because it's their emotions that they're really struggling with. And but that's your biggest challenge usually, is your anger, your frustration, your disappointment, your guilt. All that stuff gets in the way. And yeah, in coaching, I do that. I deal with that a lot. One of my moms today said, oh, I'm crying again. I said, yeah, I see that every day. Like, I think she thought that was unusual. I said, no, I see that every day. That's normal, you know? I mean, because I'm a safe place to land. You can cry in front of me. You can tell me how you feel. If you feel guilty or you feel like you're wrecking your kids or whatever. And so we'll laugh it off and then we'll move forward. I don't like guilt. I don't like shame. I don't like any of that. I like to say, yeah, you messed up. Big deal. Just because you did the best you knew how. Now you know better. Let's move forward. Okay. Laugh it off and then move forward. My child was speech delayed and I'm having a hard time explaining how to behave in public. That's interesting. I hear this a lot. Speech delay does not necessarily mean that they have cognitive delays. Just because they're not speaking doesn't mean they're not understanding. So I don't quite know where we're standing with your child. You know what I mean? Speech delays are not synonymous with cognitive delays. So yeah, this is, I'm so bad at analogies, but it just reminded me of this one. Whenever and a lot of my clients come from all over the world and have very strong accents. The stronger the accent and the more I'm struggling to understand them, for some reason, I yell at them. And then what you do, like I'm yelling. I don't know why. I can't understand them, so I yell at them because thinking that they can't hear me. And then they often laugh and they say, Lisa, we understand you. You don't need to yell at us just because we have a strong accent. So it's kind of the same. Like I'm yelling at them like they're hard of hearing just because I can't. I do it all the time. Okay, what to do for consequences when they don't care what I take away on the board? Don't like timeout. Yeah, I hate timeout. So on the board, you got to maybe invent leverage. Like, and it's so difficult for me I don't like talking about that on lives because it's one of our last resorts. I don't like inventing leverage. You got to make up something that you were going to give them. Like, well, we're going to go out for ice cream tonight, but now because you did that, we're not going to. Maybe tomorrow we'll do it. It's like that. I don't like doing it though. It's the last resort. If you really can't think of anything to take away, you invent something that you were never going to do anyway, but you're going to eventually have to do now. So say, well, we were going to go out for ice cream tonight, but because you hit your little brother, now we're not. You see, I don't like doing it, but I call it inventing leverage. Sometimes that's all we've got. I do that a lot in coaching, but it's the last resort. Please talk about how to deal with teenagers. Yeah, they're my favorite age. I'm going to read out my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1, listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they're going to ask for it. By the way, they already know it. Number 2, negotiate pretty much everything. It goes something like this. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? It's not a blanket statement, but negotiate as much as you can with a teenager. It makes them feel heard, understood, respected, etc. And number 3, don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. This is the time to let them loose and make some mistakes, okay? If they do something stupid, but it's not a big deal, just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age or what I did yesterday? And laugh it off. It's okay to make mistakes, okay? Yeah, teenagers are my favorite age. Once you know how to deal with them, they're wonderful. I just think they're great. They're my favorite age by far. Yeah. So what are your children up to? Oh, well, my children are 34 and 29, and I've got a grandchild. So yeah, they're all grown up. And my daughter works with me. She does all my videos, all my marketing, all my social media, all my business planning. I asked her the other day if I could write a new course, and she goes, no, we're not doing that now. Okay. She's in charge of all that. Yeah. So yeah, she's coming on full time. In 5 weeks from tomorrow, she'll be full time. So I'm very excited about that. Very excited. Imagine working with your kids full time. I'd love to work with my son too, but I don't know if, he's got his own stuff going on. But yeah. And that happened organically, just to let you know. It's not like I wanted to bring her on or anything. It was just, I didn't know how to do videos and social media. I was doing all the TikTok myself, but she goes, Mom, you got to get on Instagram and Facebook. I'll just help you out when I've got some time away from, whatever, I got some time. So she helped me out. She got me on Facebook and Instagram, and everything just exploded. It just took off. And that's why. So she just did, out of the goodness of her heart, she came in to help me because she's really good at marketing and all that. She came in to help me, and then it's turned into a full-time job for her. So we did not see that coming at all. It happened organically. Yeah, so it's wonderful. Plus, we have no crossover in what we do. I don't know what she does really. Like, we have no crossover. So, like, we've got our very, very, very separate jobs. No bad behavior, just constant crying over nothing. Well, how old? How old? Mary Beth. Okay, I'll keep an eye out. Constant crying. I worry about friendships. 7. Oh, okay. That's kind of tricky. Okay. We got a lot of different ideas here, but generally school's a very small pool to pull from there. And especially when they're in grade school, they've only got one class to pull friends from. And if they just don't happen to click with anyone in there, I've been in that situation. I was pretty outgoing, but you don't always have a friend in your class, right? Anyway, so I would get her out and do as many activities away from that school crowd as possible. So she has a bigger pool to pull friends from. Okay. And you can do role playing with her. You can say, hey, look, this is how you make friends. And you pretend you're her and she's her, and then you're the other kid, and then do vice versa. And you just do role playing back and forth and have fun with it. And you teach her to ask the other kids about themselves. Everyone loves talking about themselves. So say, ask them, what's your favorite game? What do you like? Blah, blah, blah. So yeah. Okay. Sibling rivalry, fighting, SOS. Yeah, I don't know. I got a million different ideas for that, but it depends on each family, what's going on, how old they are. Are they same sex, different sex? How many years apart are they, and all that stuff? When did it start? What kind of fighting? Is it physical? So that's sort of one that I'd have to look into. But you can check out the boot camp course. It goes from 3 to 12 years old. Once you're a leader, the fighting, the attitude, all that stuff tends to go away. Because once they have a really calm leader in the house, it just tends to regulate their emotions. It sounds like they're just a little bit out of control. They don't know how to get along. And also people are so focused on what to stop kids from doing. Focus on how to teach them how to get along. Play games with them, non-competitive games. There's no winner, there's no loser. So just play non-competitive games with them. Show them how to get along just by playing with them as a group. But yeah, I got a million ideas for that. But Okay, this one's an easy one. Tips for a 6-year-old who's always laid out the door, gets distracted a lot. Say, okay, from now on, and you say this to all the kids, you got 10 minutes to get out the door. If not, there's a consequence later on after school or whatever. So just give, and then when the beeper goes off, they're still not ready. Say, well, there'll be a consequence. No anger. Okay, no anger. Just say, okay, you understand, timer's over, you're not ready, so there'll be a consequence. But I'm almost ready. You're not ready, so you're not ready, right? You know what I mean? Like, you got to stand by that. So give them a really fair amount of time to get ready. So if it's just 10 minutes, all they have to do is put their shoes on and their jacket and grab their bag. 10 minutes is plenty of time. So yeah, just have it timed and say when you're not ready on time, then there'll be a consequence after school. Do you have recommendations, examples of non-competitive games? I've got way too many of those. One of my favorite things that I've been dealing with or recommending to clients is doing TikTok dances. Just imitating things, like look on TikTok what families are doing together. You know, all those silly games when they put water in their mouth and, you know, they're not allowed to laugh and stuff like that. That kind of stuff, just silly games. So yeah, silly stuff. There's no winner, no loser, but it's all based on laughter. Okay, my 3 kids only seem to listen when I turn ugly. That's because yelling, hitting, turning ugly works in the short term, but in the long term, it backfires big time. So it's just, you're only doing that because you don't know what else to do. And that's what I'm teaching here. I'm teaching you what else to do. Check out my links above. You can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old. It's all about you and your leadership. 5 weeks to get respect. Now that 5 weeks doesn't end at 5 weeks. You got to keep doing the work, okay? But once you've got the mutual respect, maintaining it is easy. Getting it is hard, maintaining it is easy. So check that out, or you can look into coaching with me. There's a wait list for that because I'm booked up right now. But anyway, you'll be put in a queue. You don't need to turn ugly. You can learn. You're just doing it because you don't know what else to do. That's all. And it's really rare if I get clients who don't yell. I had new clients yesterday, and no yelling is almost always the rule for the parents, but every so often, maybe once every week or two, no, less than that, probably every month, I'll get clients who say, no, we don't yell. And I'm like, I don't even know what to do with them. Like, everyone yells because it works in the moment, but it backfires down the road. If they only yell, you only yell because you don't know what else to do. Okay. Homeschool mom of 9 here. Why do so many large families homeschool? I would think that'd be so much work. But it tends to be the large families that homeschool. I couldn't do it. Oh, pardon me. I'm a dry sneezer. Thank God. Okay. That's a good one. My hair went flying with that one. Okay. Advice for screen time. There's 3 different ways to manage screen time. 2 are very similar. One is that you have an allotted time period each day, so 7 to 8 o'clock every night, whatever. The other one is you have an allotted period of time every day. You got 1 hour a day on screen time. I don't like either one of those because you're kind of micromanaging that. The one I like is when you give them a certain amount of hours per week, past the age of about 5 or 6 when they can do this. And you say, okay, so you've got whatever, 5. Oh, my drain just, did you hear that? That was the drain. Anyway, they must be working on plumbing in the building. Anyway, so you say, okay, so you're 5 years old, you got 5 hours a week or 10, I don't know, whatever you want. It's not, don't worry about you decide how many hours. And then you say, and you can decide when that is. And oftentimes, if you're not a leader and they know they can push you around, they will binge it and they'll finish all their hours by Wednesday or something. So they've got no screens Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Tough lesson for them and it's hell for you, but they don't usually do that a second week. So yeah, so it's give them an hour. You keep track of that, by the way, keep track of the minutes. And if they go over, then they lose that. They lose double that the next week. And they can't bank it either. It's a ton of work, forces me to do a lot of growth. What's a ton of work? This leadership stuff, it's worth it though. Anything worthwhile is work, right? It's so worth it. I used to teach fitness and people were really good for the first 3 weeks. That's usually when they quit. At 3 weeks, they usually quit. So they're all gung-ho. And then I really push them hard in that 3rd week. And I say, you know what? You've got some result. They don't see a lot of results in the first 3 weeks. I think that's it. They go in hard. They expect to be like all buff in a week. And then by week 3, they realize, hey, wait, this is hard. Because often your body tends to slow down in that period too. And we'll go on about it. But anyway, So then I say, you know what, if you keep pushing through, by week 6, you'll really see results. So, and they would, if they keep pushing through, though, they would. It's kind of like that. Like, I've got to try and encourage you to keep pushing through this stuff, because it works. It just does. I mean, there's no guarantees with any of this. We're dealing with human beings here, but if everything's aligned and you're a really good leader and you're having fun with your kids, parenting can be total joy. I don't teach this just so that you'll raise good kids. That's a byproduct. I truly am teaching this. The reason why I became a parenting coach was because I wallowed in parenting. It was the most fun time of my whole life. I loved it. And I even said to my daughter I think last week, I said, were you guys aware of how much I wallowed in you guys? And she goes, yeah, we were. Oh yeah. They were very aware, but I wallowed in them. It was fun. We were just laughing all the time. I just had a blast. That's what I want from you. I don't just want you to raise good people. I want you to have fun. I want you to enjoy the whole process, but you got to go through the hard work first. You got to learn how to set yourself up as a leader to get respect. You got to work for that. You got to earn it. I earned it. I worked for it. And then I just sailed right through the teen years. So in the first 3 to 3.5 years is when I earned their respect. And then they were kind of self-disciplining after that. It just took mom's look, and that was all it took. How to encourage kids to do their homework on their own? Well, it's an incentive-based program. So you can say, look, sure, you can play video games or have screen time as soon as you've done your homework. Use the as soon as method, and it's incentive-based. So sure, you can have video games, or sure, you can watch that show or whatever. As soon as you've done your homework, what you're doing there is you're teaching them how to have self-discipline. You're teaching them how to do what they need to do before they can do what they want to do. They're 8 and 10 years old. They can do this. Okay, they can learn. So say, sure, it's the as soon as method. Of course you can watch TV. Of course you can have that. Of course, whatever, as soon as you've done your homework. So yeah, you're teaching them self-discipline. Okay, I got to get going now. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. Look at the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, or my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. Coaching, I'm booked up right now, but I think I've got an opening right now. So I'm going to, if I don't answer you, it's just because I don't have any openings. But anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and I'll be back again Thursday for sure. I might come in sometime tomorrow if I have time during my day. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. Happy parenting. Bye now.